Hey guys, it's Sean Run Bum Blanton here, race director for Run Bum Races. Also, personally, I've run over 300 ultra marathons. Guess what that means? Absolutely nothing. It means I'm a complete idiot. But I'm here because I want to share some of the things that I've learned. I'm going to start sharing some more videos with tips for ultra running. So I'm going to start, first of all, with the most basic of basic principles. Number one, and before I cover that, I'm just going to say this, is I see a lot of questions on the internet, in various Facebook groups, on Instagram, any social media outlet, and even in person, people are go, well, am I going to be able to do that distance or that event if this is what I'm doing now, blah, blah. And, or is it possible to train for this in this amount of time, blah, blah. My whole answer is, the answer to all of that is yes, if you're willing to. Training really helps us not get injured, and that's the point, is to build strength, to build endurance, but there's a very fine line of doing too much. And as a lot of ultra runners, we are endurance addicts, so sometimes we do too much when actually doing a lot less would be better. So one of the things that I also want to talk to about that is that ultra running is not the sport of, the whole point of it is any race. I'm here to tell you this, after 300 plus ultras, that means nothing. Any race I could DNF, I could get hurt, I could do something stupid, even though I know better. So it's like, even though you learn these things and you get through them, it still doesn't mean much. I mean, it does, you have that experience, but also you can still fuck shit up. So I guess what I'm getting at is, it's a sport where nothing is guaranteed, and that's the allure of it. And if we only did things that we were only guaranteeing that we could do, or we knew that we could do before we even attempted them, what the hell is the point of living, right? So let me get back to what I was going to talk about. Preventative maintenance, number one thing for ultra running, and this is race day. This is not talking about training. Race day, we want to talk about preventative maintenance, okay? You can do all that stuff, like don't switch up food or all that, lube your feet, okay? Preventative maintenance, right? What does that mean? It's like a car, right? Imagine our bodies as a car, even though we're basically playing human demolition derby when we're doing these ultra marathons, in the what society thinks our body should be able to do. But your body can take a lot more than you think it can. You just have to fuel and pace and do all these things properly. Now with a car, you don't wait until the engine blows up to change the oil. It doesn't do anything. It's stupid, right? So you don't wait to eat until you're hungry. You don't wait to drink until you're thirsty. You don't wait to slow down until your heart rate's through the roof and you can't breathe and everything's seized up, right? So it's all about preventative maintenance. So we want to, when it comes to eating, we want to do small bites over a long period of time. You don't want to just overload your gut with a lot of stuff at once. Why? Why do we say that? Why do we say small bites? And you want things that are easy to digest. The shorter the race, the longer a race, maybe a 100-mile race, you want fats, maybe a little protein, etc. But anytime that you are putting something into your stomach or your body, what happens? Your body has to take energy or blood flow to your gut that it's currently sending to your muscles and extremities to keep yourself moving forward, right? Fight or flight, if you will. Okay? This is why people throw up while they're running sometimes, or you go too hard, because your body is trying to purge that so you can keep running, because your body's trying to digest it, and it can't, at a certain point, it can't do both. And that's why, again, small bites will be easier on your GI tract. Everyone's got to find out what works for them. It's kind of just testing, right? Does this work for me? Because what works for me may not work for somebody else. I have a really fucked up stomach, okay? And it's kind of shit out on me in the last 2.5 years, and why I've not been running as much is because I have to eat different stuff. I can't eat typical aid station stuff. I can eat bananas, then I got to eat sweet potatoes and stuff, stuff that aid stations just simply don't have. So I typically have to run with all my own stuff now in a pack, which means I'm carrying a really heavy pack, or doing a bunch of drop bags, which normally I never did. So know what works for you, and again, small incremental stuff. Those of you people who use gels, stuff like that, I like that as a supplement, or if you're doing 20 miles or less, marathon or less, you can do high glycemic index stuff, the pre-digested, if you will, the gels, the chews, all that stuff like that. But at some point, I'm 160 pounds, right? I need more sustenance, right? For what I've trained myself, right? And I need real food, and I can eat real food. Now, what real food means, maybe means bread, tortillas, quesadilla. Can't do that anymore, but just small stuff like that. And again, anytime you're doing something that's a little heavier, so higher fat, which is anything that would have dairy, even avocados, bacon, proteins, it's going to be harder again for your stomach to digest. So unless you're going more than 4 hours, I would try to avoid 4 or 5 hours. I would try to avoid stuff like that. But see what works for you. And again, that pre-digested stuff, I like to take that with me out of an aid station and use that kind of as a supplement, not as my only source of nutrition. I find that personally, my stomach gets really sour if I'm doing gels and chews and stuff like that solely. But again, that's just me. Does that stuff taste good to me? Most of it, no, it tastes awful. But it is designed for you to be able to get quick and long-lasting energy from it. Most of that stuff is made with maltodextrin, which is like a long branch chain, whatever the fuck, from carbohydrate from corn base. Cool, that's fine. I don't like the taste of that stuff, so I personally don't do it. I'm all about real food, not necessarily the processed tortillas and white bread or real food, but I feel like they're slightly more real than that stuff. But again, whatever works for you. So I will try to start off, unless I'm all out racing, like an ultra, I will start off with somewhat of a full stomach, not where I'm like uncomfortable, but where it's like I don't need to eat. And that kind of even actually slows me down getting to the first aid station or two. Most races are the same. Most 50Ks, 50 miles, whatever. Your first aid station will usually be 6 to 9 miles in there. You can go a little bit further at the beginning. So one of the things that I try to do is, for the first hour and a half, like I don't really need much. So kind of maybe just a little Gatorade or whatever sports drink. Then once that kind of absorbs through, I'm not hungry yet. Okay, I'm not hungry, but I'm like, now I can fit more food. The whole thing is staying above that. Like you don't want to get to this point where you're depleted. You want to just kind of keep upping a little bit, 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 a little bit. As the race progresses, a lot of times, again, that blood flow doesn't want to go to your stomach. It's now going to your muscles, so it becomes harder for us to eat. Also, you're jumping around, everything's shaken up. Also, if you have strong abs and a strong core, this will also help your stomach, I think. That is my theory. That will make that easier for you to digest because it's holding your stomach in place. It's not all jumbling around and stuff like that. So I'll start off, I'll get to that first aid station, maybe second aid station, start eating, and then I will continue to eat. If I ever feel like, oh man, I need to do more food, or if it gets very hot, or I'm at high altitude where it's putting my body under further duress and further stress, where blood flow is now having to go to heating or cooling or oxygen supply, I find that I pretty much want to avoid high protein, high fat foods altogether and just do pretty much almost pure sugar. Because at that point, your body just really cannot divert any energy to your blood flow or to your GI tract. Okay, again, so all my theories is what I've learned personally. Another thing that I find is that, again, you can only go as fast as you can for the conditions, right? This, again, comes back to preventative maintenance. So if it gets really hot, the whole thing is stay cool, right? Cool yourself down. Small bites, small sips. As far as water goes or sports drink and stuff, like I see all these people like, I'm only going to do Tailwind, or I'm only going to do Hammer, or I'm only going to do this. And it's like, I always feel like that's a recipe for disaster, just for my gut personally. Those things are great, but they are kind of meant for shorter stuff or in supplement to real food. When I see these people like Carl Meltzer and stuff like that, they're like, oh, I only ate 46 gels during a 100-mile race. That's terrible. Think about this. Any span of time that you're out there on your feet, let's say you're out there for a 50 miler. Let's say it takes you 14 hours. At what time ever during your life have you gone 14 hours only eating gels? The answer, I hope to God, outside of running, is never. So just think about that. And obviously we're stressing our bodies, whatever. So again, that's, what are they, 100 calories each? You can kind of take that into supplements or in like kind of supplement that throughout in between other stuff. Also, never just slam down a gel, never just shove everything in your mouth. Small bites, again, same with drinks and liquid nutrition, small sips. Personally, I'd avoid anything with whey protein in it during the race. Afterwards, if you can do dairy and stuff, there you go. So back on this preventative maintenance thing, we've talked about food, we've talked about hydration. A lot of times you'd be like, oh, I need to drink a lot of water. And it's like, maybe you're used to running when it's hot or it's cooler or vice versa. You got to just kind of listen to your body. There is no exact science. I'm sorry, that's not true. There is no exact number that you have to hit exactly 700 calories total, in 3 hours, or 200 calories an hour, or I need to have exactly 4 ounces of water. Your body operates in this wide range of hydration and nutrition. Okay, so all I try to do with people doing ultras, unless you're all out racing the win or PR or something like that, it's like always err on the side of going slower, walking when you have the chance, but eating a lot. My whole thing with eating, the small bites and the small sips, is I always tell myself I am prepping to get to the last 20% of a race and have adequate enough nutrition and hydration to basically not really have to eat anything at all if I didn't have to, so I could really push myself hard. And when I've quote unquote won smaller races and ultras and stuff like that, when I've gotten to that point, I've always felt the same way. I've taken in adequate nutrition and hydration. My legs may be tired, but man, I've got the energy from the food and everything I've been eating, and it hasn't let me down yet. So highly recommend that. That is so important. I see a lot of people who struggle with eating, whether it be, and again, no judgment, whether it be an eating disorder, whether it be you have some funky thing going on why you can't eat, you have dietary issues and restrictions like myself, but you kind of get to the point where like, I don't want to eat, or I don't. Remember, when you're eating, it's energy. Don't look at it as food. It's literally energy. That's what it is. That energy is allowing you to go further and faster and not hurt yourself. When you don't have adequate nutrition, you get muscle breakdown, you can get injury, you can get all sorts of weird things, rhabdo, just like bad stuff. So make sure that you're doing small bites, small sips, and you're staying on top of things. A good rule of thumb that I like to think of is during a 50K, unless it's some crazy hard long 50K, but if I'm out there from 5 to 8 hours, I should at least have the urge to go pee probably about once or twice. Whether I do or don't, that depends. That kind of lets you know you're adequately hydrated. When you're running long distance, you're going long distance, your body actually secretes a hormone. It's like diuretic hormone, anti-diuretic hormone, I believe it's called, which literally stops you from peeing. So a lot of times after the race, you'll be like, oh my God, like I haven't peed, blah, blah, blah. Keep drinking, keep flushing. It'll come. Don't freak out unless you have pain in your kidneys or lower back or something like that, okay? Again, not a doctor, just what I've learned personally with my body. So that's pretty much for hydration, nutrition, preventative maintenance. Let's talk about other preventative maintenance like hot spots or chafing. Something very important is, depending on how far you're going, but on any ultra, especially a 100-miler, like the further these distances go, if you don't stay on top of this stuff and you don't do your preventative maintenance, I call them A, B's, and C's, which is nutrition, hydration, like chafing, those three things. And of course you can have pacing that, but those are the three things with your body that you can really, really, really control, no matter what shape you're in, is if you don't stay on top of that, the further you go, the worse these things will hit you, and they'll knock you down. And on 100 milers, DNF at the best. You get really injured. So hot spots and stuff like that, I personally, I have no sponsors. I have nobody telling me to do this, nobody paying me. I like 2Tom Sport Shield. It's a great product. I've been using it for 10 years now. It's silicone based, so you can sweat through it. It won't sweat off. You can get wet, you can get in water. It stays on that. It is awesome. It's like a roll applicator. I highly recommend that. Other people like squirrels, nut butter, all this stuff. I quit using Vaseline and Body Glide and those petroleum-based products. Not that they're not awesome products, but for me as a heavy sweater and somebody going long distance, that shit would just get all of my clothes. And as I would sweat, it would kind of clog my pores, ultimately making that area, like if you just rubbed like coconut oil on yourself per se, dude, you're gonna get way warmer because you're not allowing, your glands or any air to that really. Okay. So it was the same thing. And, when you sweat, it's salts, and that turns into micro grit, if you will, and it can actually make chafing worse. So I really like the 2Tom stuff. I know there's other products and other things people use. Haven't necessarily tried all that, but I love this stuff. But the point of that is we're doing all these things even when we feel good, because it's so easy when you feel good to forget to do things. You forget to eat, you forget to drink, because guess what? You've been doing all the proper things, which is why you feel good. So it's like you got to keep telling yourself, if I want to keep feeling good, I got to keep eating. Or if you lose your appetite, usually this is energy. This is what's keeping me alive. This is what's keeping me going. And I've had many times during races where it's like, I don't want another fucking banana, but it's keeping me alive. It's keeping me going. This is my goal. So there you go. But with the chafing, as soon as I kind of feel a hot spot, I'll run with on a longer race. I have my pack on now, and I'll have it right here. Boom, weighs like nothing. Pop it out. Maybe it's under an armpit. Maybe it's where my pack is. Maybe it's down there. Same thing. Rub that on. Boom, put it back. Forget about it. If you don't feel anything as a man, sometime or woman, if we have big enough thighs, mine tend to rub a little bit, and so I'll make sure every hour or two that I just proactively, reapplying that stuff to, the man stuff and, under my arms or places that I might typically get chafed. And obviously, the hotter it is, the more you sweat, you're going to get chafed more. Why? Because again, we have the salts in our sweat, and that creates that as well. And the water, it all creates friction. It's not good. So again, that being preventative. Same thing, if you get hot spots on your feet or whatever, I'm going to go into another episode of this where we talk about foot care and how to build up your feet to where they won't be messed up, and then what to do, what if. But that'll be on another episode, so I'll cover that later. But that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about, were the ABCs of preventative maintenance when you're running ultra marathons or any distance whatsoever. Again, guys, we deal with things before they're a problem, not once they're broken. All right, Sean Run Bum Blanton here, wishing you guys a safe, fun, and epic run. And wherever in the world you may be running, probably gonna be jealous. All the love. Musha aloha. Remember, guys, bend, don't break.